I'm born again. Born again to live.
It's Thursday, you beautiful butterflies out there. We hope you are just living the best born-again life you could ask for. It's Amy and Eric with Born Again to Live, and we are right in the middle of a week-long, if not 2-week-long, road with David, one of our favorite all-time biblical characters. And if you haven't heard some of the other podcasts, go back and start on Monday. That's where this whole thing unfolds. But I mean, we've been talking about David for a long time, huh, Eric?
Yeah, we have. And he is one of my favorite. Like I said, I read, I study. Before we started this, I gave Amy 2 books. They are, I can't remember what they're called now, I guess, but it's The
Shepherd and the King.
The Shepherd and the King and The Rise of David. You can buy them on Amazon is where I got mine. They're fairly cheap. They're good books. I loved them. I read them nonstop. I couldn't put them down. Sat in front of my bonfire at the house for like a week solid, and just that's all I wanted to do was read those books.
Which is funny because you don't really read books. So.
No, I don't read books. If Eric says he can't put a book down, I need to check it out.
That's
it's probably pretty good.
All right.
So Monday we went through some of the early life of David. Tuesday we talked about how he is called to be who he is, but his integrity would not let him take his spot yet.
Yeah.
Yesterday, everyone would have thought we could do the Battle of David and Goliath in one day, but it's Eric and Amy, and we take longer than that because we can.
Yeah. No, there was just such good detail.
I was going to say, like, you cannot go through that in one day, because I know that the battle itself could be talked about a lot more than what it is. There's a lot of details. There's a lot of things. But at the same time, you have to get the what happened first to get why he's there, what David's standing at that spot at that moment in time, and why he just decided, hey, this is my battle, and God's got me.
Yeah, and there's so much detail that could be talked about. And Eric, I think it's always interesting, like, you know, when the Bible specifically talks about something, you got to ask yourself, well, of all the details, why are we talking about this one thing? So there's a reason for it, right? And just like you were saying, the armor, when David went to put on Saul's armor, there's a reason why that was left in, and it's, you know, something for us to like study and learn from. And like you were saying, Eric, it was about stepping into your
calling.
Yeah, stepping into your calling. So
not stepping into somebody else's calling. Now, at the end of yesterday, Amy read a verse, and it said, and it was verse 40 in 1 Samuel 17. It says, then he took in his staff in his hand, and he chose 5 smooth stones from the brook and put them in the shepherd's pouch, his sling in hand, and he approached the Philistine. Now, there's a reason that's in there.
Yes.
And I think the reason is actually I got to go to, let me skip over here in my Bible, to 2 Samuel 21, 18 through 22, where it says, I'm not saying it now, but anyways, there are 4 other brothers of Goliath named in this passage. I can't pronounce their names, but there's 4 other brothers of the descendants of the giants who is Goliath. So if we go back to our scripture in 1 Samuel 17, and when he picks up 5 smooth stones, I believe he was preparing one for each giant.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think that David's not an idiot. God's not dumb. He knows that there's giants walking the earth at this time.
Right.
And if David's pretty smart, he's going, hey, there's 5 of them.
Yeah.
I need 5 stones. So he bends down, he picks up 5 stones, and I told Amy that, and she goes, yeah, he knew one for each one.
I mean, and you know, yeah, you kill my brother, I'm coming after you, right? That's the human heart right there. That's what we're going to do. And, you know, even though, like, this was a battle of honor rather than killing all of this army and all of this army. Oh my gosh, I'm just realizing this. You had that one life representing everybody.
Yeah, it symbolized Christ.
For sure. But yeah, so, you know, if let's just say Goliath, you know, when Goliath was just like, you know, if you slay us, we will be subjects to you and vice versa and everything. But, you know, I think David was wise enough to be like, would he really honor that? Like, would they really honor that? Or would we still end up going to battle? So, yeah, I think those other 4 stones were just like an insurance policy, right?
I mean, and it was just funny that you read that and you're like, well, he picked up 5 because he thought he'd need all 5. But when you read later that Goliath had 4 more brothers, like, is that why?
Yeah.
I'm telling you that's why. Again, I'd love to ask David when I get to heaven, like, hey, so did you really think you needed 5, or were you like so sure you had it?
I think David's going to be too busy dancing with all of his might to be able to. There's like a dance club in heaven. There's David dancing with all of his might. Man, this dude just did everything.
He's not doing the Macarena.
I mean, but he did everything to like the utmost degree. Like, this is why I think I love him. He's just so great.
All right, so we're going to start now reading the bat.
Yes. So, like every great story, it starts meanwhile. Dun, 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 dun. The Philistine, that being Goliath, with his shield bearer in front of him, kept coming closer to David. He looked David over and saw that he was little more than a boy, glowing with health and handsome, and he despised him. He said to David, "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. "Come here," he said, "and I'll give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals." So he was ready to take him out.
He was an angry one.
He was angry. And yeah, I love it how it says, and he cursed David by his gods, meaning like he didn't really understand who the God was. And so he's just throwing out everything he can think of, which he might have just been throwing out some Egyptian gods and some, just other ones that he'd heard of in the past. Who knows? But so David said to the Philistine, "You come against me with sword, spear, and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." As I like to say.
Man, that is a statement.
I mean, right?
Dude, sword and spear and javelin aren't going to hurt me because my God has.
I mean, that's it. And, I love to say that God cannot be mocked. And here's David just indignant against this guy, that righteous anger. Like, you don't talk about my God like that. Like,
well, and that's the thing. Goliath hadn't done anything physical.
No.
He stood there and talked about God.
Mm-hmm.
And David had that righteous anger so bad that he's like, I'll give my life to defend his name.
Yeah. Absolutely. And like you said, Goliath hadn't done anything. We don't even know if he was there was rumors he was a great warrior, but all we knew is he was big. Yeah. So what? What can that do? So this day the Lord will deliver. So this is David talking again. He says, "This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I'll strike you down and cut off your head." Wow, that's a bold proclamation. "This very day I will give the carcass of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands."
I mean, David knows how to make a statement.
Man, he sure does.
And again, Goliath hadn't done anything. But as far as we know, David had never fought a battle.
Yeah.
Other than the lion and the bear.
That's right.
And he is standing there saying that you're defying the armies of God of Israel. And that today you are going to give the whole Philistine armies into my hand.
Yeah.
He's talking about a battle he's never fought. Mm-hmm. He's talking about a war. He's never picked up the sword to go into war. And he's talking about a battle being won before it starts.
Yeah.
Ooh. I don't know. It's just, oh man, so good.
That's a born again life right there. Yeah. If only we had this kind of valor when we were going up against our giants sometimes, right? But man, David was not putting up with it.
Tim Tebow, when I saw him speak, and he was talking about the difference between David and Goliath, he said Goliath may have been big, but David knew how big his God was standing behind him.
Yeah.
I said, so anytime you face a giant, remember how big your God is behind you, and you're good.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I mean, because it was nowhere in Scripture does it say David was even remotely scared. Like, no. You just love it. He's just like, wait, what do I get if I kill this giant? And he just went for it.
I'm bringing lunch to my brother, and I'm not going to be the most historical figure to know. Exactly. Because I'm just mad you're talking about my God.
Yeah. I think it definitely was less to do with the reward and more to do with like, I'll show you, buddy. I'll shut you up. So As the Philistine moved closer to attack him, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him. Wasting no time, obviously, right? Reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, he slung it and struck the Philistine on the forehead. The stone sank into his forehead, and he fell face down on the ground. So David triumphed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone. Without a sword in his hand, he struck down and killed him. David ran and stood over him. He took hold of the Philistine's sword and drew it out from the sheath. After he killed him, he cut off his head with the sword.
Not only does David kill him with a stone, he has to take the guy's sword to actually take him out.
Right. I mean, I guess, so the stone in his forehead was enough to take him down.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, well, he did a little more.
I just think it's funny that he took his own sword.
I know, right?
And then earlier we're talking about how big the sword is and how small David is, and this dude just picks up the sword and chops off his head. Like, let's go. I told you this was going to happen today, buddy.
Yeah, he did. He sure did.
I love that story, and there's so many details in there. But I asked Amy the question I'm going to ask the listeners. What happened to the armor bearer?
Yeah. What happened?
It talks about in the beginning, and it says, where was it there?
I think it's right at 41, right?
Yeah, with his shield bearer in front of him.
Yeah.
Well, the only thought I had on that, and it bothers me every time I see it, because I'm like, whatever happened to him? Did David have to get rid of him? Did he fight? Did he run? Or was he just standing there in front of this 9-foot-tall giant, and David hit the spot where his armor couldn't get, his forehead?
Yeah.
And they talked about the helmet that Goliath wore earlier. I'm thinking, well, that would have had to have been like the perfect spot for that stone.
Yeah.
But what if he took the helmet off because he's cocky or something like that,
Yeah.
So the show I talk about, then there, he takes the helmet off, which I think that maybe that, we got to use our imagination until we get to heaven and get to see the slideshow.
Right. Well, and kind of like, it does say, like, in the beginning, he's looking at David like, who is this young punk that thinks he's going to take me out? And they hadn't quite moved into position yet. So you might, that could be what happened. He just looked at this kid being like, I'm not going to need my helmet. Like, man, just leave that back here. But me personally, I'm a big believer that the armor bearer, the minute Goliath was struck, I think he dropped that shield because obviously his job was done, and he bolted. Like, I am not sticking around for this. So
I imagine he was an average size human, so probably was scared pretty good.
Yeah,
he took out the biggest dude in the world, and it's like, hey, I'm sorry, I gotta leave now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I really like too that when it says that the Philistine arose and came and drew near to meet David, David ran quickly.
Yes.
It wasn't like he was just strolling up there. He's like, I'm eager to go in there. I don't have a doubt in my mind what's going to happen, and I'm going full on, and I'm going to hit it hard.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I love that he didn't hesitate.
No, he didn't.
God gave him a calling, gave him a mission, and he went at it.
Yes.
And this relates to your life, listeners, in the same way.
Yeah.
If you get a call from God, hit it with everything.
Yeah.
I say it all the time that when he gives me a mission or gives me a mission field or a harvest field, I've got to give it everything I got for as long as I've gotten that field, because I don't know how long I'll have that field. So if it's Big Blue, or if it's putting libraries in a box.
Yeah. Libraries in a box?
Or books in a box. Whatever.
Yeah.
I got to hit it hard. I've got to go with everything I've got all the time, because you never know if you're going to miss the harvest field or the mission field or the harvest field.
Yeah.
Or you don't know if you're going to get pulled off that mission.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be serving dinner to an army and be like, hey, now I got to go fight the battle. So those people didn't get fed because I was slow. So I got to feed them first because they're going to back me up.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, like, you got to hit this stuff hard. You can't just sit around and wait on somebody else to fulfill your mission or your calling. You got to hit it like you're the only one who can do that job. And that's what David did here. He was the only one for 40 days that literally said, I can do this.
Yes.
And nobody else argued with him. They're like, okay, yeah, if you say you can, go for it. Except his brother, who's like, nah, you're not.
Just like a brother. Well, and then there's this other underlying thread that is, don't listen to what the world says about you. Like, first you've got Samuel being like, well, no, I guess it was Jesse. Jesse didn't think his own son was obviously good enough to be anointed, right? So he didn't even put him into the running until Samuel's like, is there any more sons? So Jesse didn't see David as valuable. Goliath saw him as this young man. The rest of the Israelite army are just, his brothers, they're all looking down at him. Like everybody is looking at him a different way. But, as we were reading earlier in Samuel, like, man looks on the outside, God sees the heart. So like, guys, if you're out there and you're like, I think God's calling me to this, or I think God told me to do that, listen to God. Don't listen to your friends saying, oh, I think that's a bad idea. I think that's going to take too long. That's going to cost too much money. That's going to hurt you. Because I'll tell you, there's the things I've been involved in my life. If I had listened to the people that were like, I think that's going to fail, right?
Yeah.
When people tell you that that's going to fail, boy, that can really drum up that doubt and that fear. But if God's calling you to it, he's not going to let that happen if it's his will. And like you said, Eric, sometimes God does let you fail a little bit so then you can later on succeed, right? So, but just sticking to that obedience part and not letting the way the world sees the situation kind of get in the way.
Yeah, I agree. And that's as I said, you can't listen to everybody else. And if I truly believe that if God gave it to you, he's going to make a way for it to happen.
Yeah.
He's going to get it. You're going to get through every barrier, and he's not going to let that armor bearer or anything in front of you stop you. He's going to charge that thing full bore. And if it's not God's mission, you may fail.
Yeah.
And you'll know. But if it's God's mission, you're going to break through, and everybody's going to stand around going, oh, wow. And then they're going to come after you.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, let's go with that guy. And that's what happens next in our story. Actually, I want to hurry and get to a little bit of the details here. Because we're like 18 minutes in, who knows?
Always.
But anyways, after David killed him, the army of Israel basically got up off their butts and were like, oh, let's go.
Yeah.
They charge after the Philistines, who flee, and they run all the way back to their home city of Gath. And along the way, the Philistines are just getting slammed by the Israelites.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyways, after they chase them back to their capital city, the Israelites turn around to come back. And in verse 54, it says, and David took the head of the Philistines, brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his armor on his tent. I think it's just a funny scene to think about David carrying his head around like,
yeah,
look what I did.
I know.
Look what God did today, guys. If there's ever a message to get like people to believe that there is a God, like the head's bigger than me, guys. Here, look at this,
Yep.
And then we go to 55 there, and it says, as soon as Saul saw David go out against the Philistine, he said to Abner, commander of the army, who is this youth? And towards the end there, it gets 58. And Saul was talking to David, and he says, whose son are you, young man? And David answered, I am the son of your servant Jesse the Bethlehemite. And the point I brought up to Amy is, David was called by Saul to come play music. He knew who he was. He wouldn't have had to ask this question because he had seen his face playing that music to him a lot of times.
Yeah.
So why did he ask that? I think it's because that's the moment Saul realized this is the guy that Samuel anointed.
Yeah.
He knew that, I figure he knew, yes, Samuel went to Jesse's house in Bethlehem, or he went to Bethlehem, but why did he go to Bethlehem? And the moment he says, whose son are you again?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're that guy.
Yeah.
Because the story changes after this. The story of Saul and David being buddies and hanging out and playing music together, it changes.
Yeah. I mean, you would think he'd elevate him because he saved his skin. You'd think he'd just have nothing but love, but, well, that's not exactly how the story goes, is it?
And I mean, that's the story of Saul, is he sat back and waited on somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
And just like the Amalekite battle, if he would have done what he was told, who knows how far his reign would have went. But instead, he chose to disobey God, and David stepped up and said, all right, God, you tell me to kill this giant, I'm going to kill the giant.
Integrity.
And carry his head all the way around.
Oh, my goodness. All right. So that is how that battle ends. But wait, there's more.
It's Thursday.
It's Thursday. We're still doing names of God. Eric thought this would be appropriate for today, but it is, don't laugh. Why are you laughing?
Because I don't have to now say this.
Okay, I actually get to see how it looks spelled in Greek, which is very interesting. But it is Eos David. And
Say that again?
Eos David.
Okay.
So I guess the V and the W are kind of, those sounds are interchangeable a little bit, but Eos David is basically the son of David. That is how that translates to. And we're going to read from you. This should be somewhat of a familiar scripture because it comes from Luke 1:32-33. And this is kind of leading up to the birth of Jesus. He will be a great man. He will be called the Son of the Most High. The Lord God will give him the throne of his ancestor David. Your son will be king of Jacob's people forever, and his kingdom will never end. That is our God, the Son of David. And, since you just mentioned it, Jesus is referred to as the root of Jesse.
Yeah. And it's, to me, the Saul and David contradiction. How long would Saul's name have lasted?
Yeah.
If he'd have done the right thing? It could have been the same story with that whole line, but he chose to not honor God and not do what God said. But David's a man after God's own heart. So that's why Jesus is the Son of David.
Mm-hmm.
So,
good stuff.
All right, guys. So Goliath died today.
Woohoo!
All right. Talk to you tomorrow.
Bye.
No longer fear tomorrow. No more shame or sorrow. My past regrets are washed away. I pray to start a brand new day.
Hey guys, thanks again for joining us today. We want to make you a part of the conversation. So please visit our Facebook page at Born Again to Live the podcast and leave a note or a comment, questions, prayer requests. We just want to hear from you. And while you're at it, please like, subscribe, and share so that others can find out about our podcast. Thank you.